Good morning. Welcome back into Wake Up America. It's been 3 years since COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic in March of 2020. Fast forward to today, and both the Energy Department, the FBI, and former CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield have concluded that COVID-19 did in fact come from a lab, as the House and Senate both voted unanimously last week to declassify intelligence on COVID-19 origins. Joining us now for a reaction is someone who was there at the very beginning, former HHS Deputy Chief of Staff and author of the book Warp Speed, Inside the Operation That Beat COVID, the Critics, and the Odds. Paul Mango back with us. Paul, good to see you.
Hey, Rob, great to be on this morning.
Paul, it looks like COVID leaking from a lab is no longer a fringe theory. We've been talking about this for the better part of 2.5 years. Dr. Fauci, though, for whatever reason, is still refusing to acknowledge this as even a possibility. Let's listen.
A lab leak could be that someone was out in the wild, maybe looking for different types of viruses in bats, got infected, went into a lab, and was being studied in the lab, and then it came out of the lab. But if that's the definition of a lab leak, Jim, then that still is a natural occurrence.
So, Paul, and Jim Acosta, no pushback, I should add to that. But that now we're just inventing things. Dr. Fauci has gone from trusted physician at some point in time to literally just inventing possible origins for COVID-19 versus looking at and giving credibility to what's staring him right in the face.
Yeah. Well, Rob, there's one word for what we just heard, and that's called dissembling. It's a man who believes he's going to be called to testify up on the Hill here pretty soon. But later in that interview, I listened to it over the weekend, Rob. Later that interview, he said something that was very profound. He said, a virus could be of natural origin. It could be manipulated in a lab, i.e. gain-of-function research, and then it could leak out. So for the first time ever, he's saying natural origin, gain-of-function research, and lab leak could all happen, could all be true at the same time. So I think he is changing his tune a bit, and he understands that the evidence is all stacked against him when it comes to natural origin.
Yeah, he just looks so bad right now. Paul, you were there at the very beginning working with Dr. Fauci, and Donald Trump is partially culpable with all of this as well. He foisted Tony Fauci on the world back in March of 2020. And I think as he runs for president, you know, there are going to be questions about why Trump didn't fire Fauci. What's your answer to that question? Why did Donald Trump keep him around?
Yeah, I think what happened was Dr. Fauci and a couple other doctors became rock stars. If you remember, in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the pandemic, there were big questions about their credibility inside the administration. But I think President Trump was stuck a bit because I think the public would have perceived that type of move as really trying to hide something, quite honestly. And it's actually the opposite, because Dr. Fauci was the one trying to hide something. So it was a very difficult situation when he became so popular so quickly. It's hard. It's like, it's like a professional athlete or a quarterback in the NFL or whatever. It's difficult to get rid of someone whom the public at that time trusted.
Yeah, think about Dr. Fauci today versus where he was 3 years ago today. Meanwhile, this was pretty unbelievable to me. The House and the Senate voting unanimously. In the House, the vote was 419-0. Democrats and Republicans on the same page. This is really rare. They voted unanimously to declassify intelligence on COVID origins. How does the president possibly justify a veto on this if that's the direction he goes?
Oh, I don't think he's going to veto it, Rob. I think it would be clear that he maybe had a conflict of interest with the Chinese Communist Party in some way if he vetoed this. I would be shocked if he did. We haven't seen this level of unanimity, I think, since 9/11. So I think it's going to go forward.
Paul, 10 seconds. Do you think COVID came from a lab?
I think it was a manipulated virus that leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Just one last thing on that, Rob. Recall in February of 2020, we sent a team over there from HHS. They wouldn't let the team into the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So that tells you all you need to know.
All right, Paul Mango, we'll do it again soon. Thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Great to see you, Rob.